Okay, so in theory, we are live. Hold on 1 minute.
Okay, so this is going out live. Is that what's happening
This
here?
is a live show, yeah.
Okay, cool. I can't hear you, Kerry, and I'm looking at a image of the Z Shield document, so I'm not sure where we are.
Right. I think we're going
Okay,
live.
good.
So hold on. Hello?
I'm here.
Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on here. Okay, let's
There we
see
go.
if we show up. Yeah, but this is not the live.
Okay.
I'm trying to find the live.
Before we go,
Hello?
before we go, before we go live, Kerry, if I
We're
can
already
say,
live,
we're
actually.
already
So
live. I'll
this
come
is
back to
not
that
gonna, I mean,
subject.
if you wanted this to be private, then no shot. Because the machine is just going.
That's okay. It's all good.
Okay. If there's something you want to tell me, you can tell me later.
I will.
Or you could also text me. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Kerry Cassidy from Project Camelot and very happy to be here today. So it's kind of a crazy time right now. I'm trying to get ready to leave town and do shows. And apparently that's not easy. So welcome, Richard, and I'd love for you to have give yourself an introduction. You are the CEO, if I understand it, of NanoSoma, correct?
Yeah, it's a magic dicol business which distributes the nanosoma products in several countries, the US and Europe and UK, Australia, and so on. So, yes, I am no longer the CEO of that business. I'm founder and chairman of that business now. I now have somebody else running it day to day, who actually has been part of my life since before I actually started the business. And I also run this business, which is the Aguhi business that resells the DPE products, Defense of Planet Earth. And
Okay, and
what
that
I,
is what we're going to get into. But before you
it's
jump
absolutely,
into that, I just want to make sure that that our audience is hearing us and everything is happening.
yep.
So if anyone can't has problems hearing us, let me know, please. So the next thing I'd like to do is, and Nanosoma is a wonderful product that I use all the time and have been advertising it on my site for many years now. But you have a new product, and from what I understand, and we had a banner up here. I'm going to bring it up again, and you can then sort of start talking about it, and so people can see the banner and maybe try to make sense of it. All right, it's like a new
Yes.
technology. Is that correct?
Well, it is, though. In truth, been selling the DPE products since before I started the Magic Dicol business, which was in 2019. So I'm happy to give a little background. But intriguingly, there's a link between these two product sets, although they come from entirely different sources. They are both deeply connected to the extraordinary time we are living through. That's their connection. And at some point, I would like to talk to you a little more about where I walk. That's not the subject of today, but it's because of where I walk that these two extraordinary sets of products have come into my life. And so I firstly want to thank you for what you've done to help share the nanosoma products with the world. Our original video interview really blew the doors off my little magic dicol business back then. I had to struggle. If you're producing software, it's pretty easy if the demand goes off the scale. But when you're having to buy bulk product, put it in a bottle and ship it out to people, it's a bit embarrassing because you can't do that overnight. And that's what happened after that interview, as you probably understand. So I thank you for that. Um, and so the DPE products, as the name says, is related to defense of planet Earth. And the beautiful Italian genius who creates these, I actually met when we were both dealing with the products of an organization called the Kesh Foundation, created by American Kesh, which was extraordinary technology, but the nature of the organization was, let's say, less than ideal. And Giovanni was running the Italian operation for them. and I was their largest reseller around the world at the time. All of that is history, and Giovanni and I became friends. And one of the things he moved into was this extraordinary technology. So let me explain what this is on the surface, because the extraordinary wonder of them, I can only defer to my friend Giovanni in terms of the detail. The image that's on the screen here is the introductory page to the largest of these devices, which I will get to, the DPE-Z Shield, and I'll explain what it is in due course. So we have some smaller devices. The smallest of these is shaped a bit like a fence post. And the early ones actually came in a plastic tube with all sorts of clever technology inside them. And you basically installed it like a fence post, except you put it mostly in the ground, watered it in like you would with a tree, and forget it. No connection to electricity or water or anything. You just need to make sure the ground is moist. If you live in Arizona, you might want to put water around it every month or so. But apart from that, you need to do nothing. And the base function of these devices is to, let's say, draw out of the biosphere the extreme EMF energies that have been put there for various reasons and purposes. And so if we look at weather, for example, weather is actually driven by EMF energies. And many of you will know that there's quite a deal of, let's say, manipulation of our weather. In fact, it's been weaponized for well over 50 years. And so if you can suck those energies out of your local environment, you won't have violent storms where you are. You won't have lightning over these devices. If these things were installed widely in Tornado Alley, bye-bye tornadoes. So people have been installing these things for a long time. And so what they're doing is absorb the energies right across the spectrum from basically subhertz geopathic energies to beyond 5G, except for the frequency of 13.4 hertz, which is the frequency of life on Earth, as I'm advised. And but the thing is, they don't stop anything working. It's very interesting. If you've got a mobile phone, for example, and you've got 5 bars of signal, it might drop to 3, but everything keeps working. So it's not like anything shuts down, but the power, if you like, is sucked out of it. And so many people have reported, suffering from EMF interference and 5G and so on, only to find that that interference disappears when they install one of these devices. So, as I said, I originally started to sell these devices, I can't remember, maybe 2018, 2017 even, perhaps, somewhere there. Excuse me. And what's happened in more recent times is my genius friend has transformed these devices. They used to be in a plastic tube. They're now in a copper tube. And if you think about the energies that are in our biosphere, there's not a lot of voltage associated with them, but they can be quite powerful. These early devices were shown to be absorbing about 8 megawatts of energy, which will easily power a couple of houses. And so, they can be handling quite a lot of power. But the nature of these is the voltage is very low. So you're actually working with high current levels. These current generation of devices now have room temperature superconductors in them. I'm not aware of any other product that's available commercially anyway that's actually got room temperature superconductors in them. Superconductors conduct a current without any resistance. When I studied physics, which is long ago that I'm willing to admit, there were superconducting materials at close to absolute zero, which is minus 273 centigrade. So within a degree or two of that, there were exotic materials that could be shown to display these characteristics. And if you look on Wikipedia, which has interesting information in some ways, it talks about the possibility of room temperature superconductors, but there's no reference to any products that do it. These devices have room temperature superconducting materials in them, which means, as I said, the voltages are low. So the amount of energy that these devices can conduct into the ground is maybe 100 times the earlier devices. So they're very powerful, and interestingly enough, these things do take a while to build up to full power. But the people, when they install the current generation of them, quite often feel them as they install them because of the power that they carry. We have got used to this severely distorted energy environment that we live in. It's not just weather interference, but all manner of um, let's say frequencies, and these devices suck up all those energies. And so we feel a bit strange, or some do, when those energies are taken away. People adjust in a day or so, but they're very powerful devices.
Okay,
So,
I'm afraid I'm kind of lost. What are you?
okay.
You're telling me a lot of sort of details, but you're not telling me what exactly is this and how do you use it, or do we use it, or what? What's going on
So,
here?
as I said, what you do is the base device, you take, it's shaped like a fence post, if you will, round, and you dig a hole and put it in the ground, and basically bury most of it. The current generation ones have an aerial you put on top of them, but you install them and forget them. There's no power connected to them. There's nothing connected
So,
to
what
them.
is the
They
purpose
simply,
of it?
okay. So I did cover a little of this, Kerry. I'll go back and do it. They are absorbing EMF energies as part of what they
Okay.
are doing. So
Okay, just
violent
yeah, just in
storms
a short sentence for my audience, just to encapsulate
violent
a bit.
storms, violent storms will not happen over these devices. Lightning will not happen over these devices. They clear chemtrails from the local area. They oxidize all of the particles, the aluminium and barium and stuff that's in chemtrails. They neutralize chemtrails. They absorb uh, um, and so these are the smaller devices that are doing this. There is an additional version of these which actually has technology in them that enhance agricultural yields and production and so on. Some of your listeners will be familiar with um, electroagriculture, which essentially uses copper rods and devices to enhance plant growth. Well, these take that kind of function and put it on steroids. They're probably 100-fold more powerful in that regard. So
Okay, so this is getting the electrical energy out of the ground. Is that correct? Or is it
it's actually
killing?
mostly getting it out of the atmosphere and conducting it into the ground. So it's neutralizing.
I see.
There's a
Well,
lot of
don't most
interference in our
people,
in our
like when they're
biosphere.
interested in Tesla tech, would want to access that energy? Isn't that right?
Um, uh, what we're talking about is energies that are interference energies. These are energies that are not naturally there. So weather
Oh,
warfare has been conducted against us for well over 50 years. It's, there
sure.
be no news to you, but these devices suck those energies out of the biosphere. So in your local area, you will not get violent storms. You will not get impacted by the energies of 5G. Some people are very sensitive to all manner of EMF, such as even Wi-Fi in some cases. Again, this sucks the power out of those devices. It doesn't stop them working, but it sucks the power out of them so people can live
Okay.
with this technology in the way they can't
So
necessarily
now
otherwise do.
I appreciate that. So now, just, again, kind of trying to get to the more the summary and then going into the details a bit later, just to say that the purpose of this is to not for an individual to buy it. As I recall, it's quite expensive, correct?
They are for an individual a buy, but they are a little expensive in some senses. The base DPE device these days is about 6,000 US dollars. The agriculture is about seven, and there's a larger agricultural device which is about 11,000. So
Okay, so
um,
if somebody
I am
has
actually
that money.
I am actually yes. You need to have that money to be able to invest in them. Though I think I have finally persuaded my good Italian friend to produce a smaller device, which will be a lot less expensive. And this, the scale of the protection zone of these things has grown dramatically. The original DPE 100s was only about 2 kilometre radius protection. The current devices have a 20 kilometre radius protection.
Okay.
So it's quite a sizable protection zone. Similarly with the
So,
agricultural zone.
all right, it's if it has that large of a sort of area of effect, then a group of people could invest
Absolutely, absolutely.
in a neighborhood, say.
Um, yeah, it's a great idea for a neighbourhood. People with like-minded interests to get together and do this. We've had a couple of cases of people doing that.
Okay, and would is it against the law, or would a government decide that it was against the law?
We've seen no evidence of that. We're not doing anything that's illegal, um, and these things don't show up very readily because they're not connected to anything. They're pretty hard to detect. We do see interest in the very large devices, which I'll talk about. There are black helicopters might turn up over a DPEZ because they're trying to figure out what this is. Giovanni suggests they might think it's a UFO because of the signature that it has, but so they're trying to figure them out, but they don't know what they're dealing with.
Okay.
It's very interesting technology, and it's very much supportive of reinstating our biosphere to where it was maybe 10,000 years ago.
All right.
So
So, are these currently on sale?
yes, they are. They've been in on sale for a long time, and if people follow your affiliate link, Kerry, they will see an option there to go to the DPE stores just as they can go to the nanosoma stores. It's off that same link. So
Oh,
they can go and register on those stores, and we can send them more information from there is probably the simplest way.
okay. So I'm just looking at some links you sent me. There's something on Vimeo. Is that just a video to give
Yeah, Vimeo is just
information?
a video. Yeah, it's a description
Okay. And
for
the
sure.
other one, the other link here, because I just want to know what to put in the chat for the people. Is it this one that says something like ZPA100.com? Is that it?
DPE100.com. Yes, you can do that. But I would recommend that you give them your affiliate link because
Oh,
that will take them to let's say, a clearing page where they can register through your link on the relevant DPE store, the Ogle Heap store. There's one in the US, one in Australia, and one in Europe. So they can go to the relevant store and register, and then we can send them more information. But you can share that intro video. Um, the DPE100.com is just information, but it's not directly connected back to your affiliate link. So I would send
okay.
them via
So
your
my
affiliate link.
affiliate link, as you're calling it, is the same as NanoSoma or a different one?
Exactly the same.
Okay. So I'll put that down here in the chat so people can now they're going to get a discount with that.
No, they're not going to get a discount with
Oh,
that. That's not how it works. What you get
I
is an
see.
affiliate commission through that.
I see.
That's what
Okay.
they
So if
get.
they want to help Camelot, they buy through there. That's it,
That's
right?
it. That's exactly it.
Okay. So I'm just going to make that clear to people.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Now you can go into the details more. I just want to, get these big bullet points out there because it
Yeah.
was kind of going all over the place and confusing, I thought, at the very beginning here.
It's
So,
okay. I apologize if I came across
I
in
guess
a
you're
confusing
a physics
manner.
guy or whatever, and it's
I
all,
don't get my hands dirty in
it's
that
all Greek to me,
anymore
but
too
thank
much,
you.
but it's all good.
Okay.
Um, so they're the smaller devices, if you will, and but there's a bigger picture in play here. There is a large device which is called a DPE Z shield, which is what the paper that you showed, that first page that you showed, is referring to. Those devices they're quite a lot larger and much, much more powerful. They have a theoretical coverage zone of 2,500 kilometres in radius. In practice, we are working on about 700 kilometres in radius. But there is actually a story here that some of your viewers may be interested in helping with. We don't think about it, but the core of our planet is solid, the crust is solid, but the magma is liquid, yeah? Molten iron. So why doesn't the crust slide around all the time? Why don't it move around? It's locked. And the reason is there's a phenomenon called magnetohydrodynamics. And let me illustrate what that means. If you take a beaker of mercury, which is a liquid, and you put a paint stirrer in it, you can turn the paint stirrer. But if you put a magnetic field around the beaker, it locks, it behaves like a solid. And so if you turn the paint stirrer, you turn the whole beaker because the mercury is now solid. I think this phenomenon occurs with all electrically conducting fluids, of which our magma is one. And so the magnetic field of the planet actually locks the magma, so it behaves like a solid. That is until the magnetic field falls far enough, and it's currently falling significantly. And when it falls far enough, the magma unlocks and the ice caps rotate to the equator. Some people say it'll take a day. Some people say it will take a second. It's not going to make much difference. We're not going to be here if that happens. And it's happened before. It's in the geological record. And it happens with some frequency, tens of thousands of years. But basically, the magnetic field of the planet goes through a long cycle. And so when it gets weak enough, it unlocks. And as I said, this is evident in the record. Intriguingly, it seems to rock back and forth to about the same place. So, the ice caps rotate to the equator, and then they melt, obviously, and new ice caps form. And then strangely, it rotates back to about the same place. I don't understand that, but that's what the geological record indicates. So if we don't intercede with this, the estimates are that somewhere between 2 years and 25 years, unless we intercede, that is going to happen. We don't plan to allow that to occur. And so if we deploy sufficient of these larger devices around the planet, we can effectively restore the magnetic field of the planet and restore the gravity of the planet, which is also being reduced. It's not planned that we disappear from this planet in that way, Kerry. So
Okay.
there's a bigger
Well,
plan to all of this.
okay, but you're talking about the shifting of the magnetic, uh, whatever you call that, right?
Now, what I'm talking about is a rotation of the crust
Not the
of the
magnetic
planet.
pole. You're not talking about the magnetic.
No, I'm not talking about the movement of the magnetic pole. That's somewhat related, but not the same issue. I'm talking about the unlocking of the crust of the planet and rotating, the ice caps rotating to the equator, because the magma begins to behave like a fluid, which it is,
Okay,
but
but
it's locked.
can you say, like, is there a cycle that scientists have detected for this
Yes,
particular thing?
yes, there is. As I
Every
said,
X number of years, which is
yeah,
what?
some people say it's 20,000 years, some people say it's 40,000 years, that kind of number.
Uh-huh. And so are we
And
close to that time now for some
as
reason?
I said, as expected, that if we don't intercede, that will occur sometime between about 2 years' time and 25 years' time. In other words, in the near term, that is
Okay.
likely to happen. And
So isn't this something that that governments would be interested in?
I thought you knew better than to ask that question, Kerry.
No, not yes. No, there's reasons to ask questions like that because
I don't
to
think, I don't
focus the
think,
minds of my audience, I'm not necessarily
okay,
asking it for myself. The reason I'm asking is because we don't assume everything here. We try to delve into all the particulars. So
I
basically,
apologize.
just trying to find, where the sort of coalescence of some sensibility about what you're talking about, and some where scientists might be studying this in general or not studying it on purpose or whatever. So I'm just trying to track, because
Okay,
you're actually kind of talking about something that very few people talk about, as far as I know.
yes, yes,
The shifting of the magnetic poles we hear about, but we don't really
yes.
hear about the shifting of the crust, if that's what literally you're saying.
There is a YouTube channel run by Ben Davidson called Suspicious Observers. He talks
Right. I
about
know
this
him. Yeah.
he talks about this very openly.
Okay.
Um, and there are others. There are quite a few people, and it's known of, but is not talked about. It's one of the reasons that the so-called elite are digging underground bunkers in an effort to survive this process. They won't if my friend Giovanni is correct, because what he says is because of other factors this time around, the Schumann resonance will get destroyed on the planet. Our brains stop working without the Schumann resonance. So, there's no way you can go underground and survive this if it is allowed to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not in the
Okay,
plan
okay,
for that.
okay. I'm just, I'm trying to make my way through this stuff. You're saying it's not going to happen, then what are you worried about?
It's not going to happen because we will deploy these devices across the planet.
Okay, well, that's kind of like a leap. Okay, so you're saying it's not going to happen because you believe that your team is going to deploy these devices. How many people have bought these devices on that large scale at this point?
We have just begun to install the first of them. There are several. We have a pilot installed in Australia, which is an earlier generation of the device, but it's already has demonstrated the scale, rapid, significant scaling down of cyclones here. There are several devices installed in Italy now. One of them was specifically installed to prevent the explosion of Campiflegra, which you may know of, which is a massive caldera in southern Italy, and people have been concerned that it might blow its top. If it does, there'll be an ash cloud over the planet for a couple of years, probably, if that happened, which has happened in our past, as you probably know. And that will also probably snuff life out on the planet because nothing is going to grow. So that's already been prevented with this technology. And in addition, we have just installed two devices in the US, and a third one is about to be installed just after Christmas. So that's the first of them that have been installed by other people. Um, I don't know if they will all be deployed by one or two individuals, or my approach has been to this to keep it get it done off the radar. And so I welcome people who have the resources to come forward and via this link and talk to me, because we need these across the planet. About 330 of these devices, Giovanni says we need across the planet to basically produce the outcome. And these devices are not just about what I've spoken to you about. These devices, when they're deployed, will stop the ability of dark off-planet beings to be able to come here, because we'll shift the energies of the planet. So there are many things going on here, many things. Um, And so this is intriguingly, um, these things actually connect back to the Great Pyramid. It's a very, very interesting subject. The core thing we need to focus on is getting these extraordinary devices across the planet. If any of your audience has the wherewithal or the interest to get involved, we welcome it. But my plan is not to try and get this done via government, because I'm very clear about how government works on this planet and who drives it. And, that's not a useful direction to pursue, in my opinion.
Okay, now, but there are basically these things that are called pylons that Ashiana Dean talks about in her Voyager books. I don't know if you're aware of those books or her work, but some of these things are actually already installed in our planet. And I wonder if, well, you're talking about a scientist called Giovanni, is that correct?
Yes,
Is he aware of her work?
I have no idea. He's aware of much more than I talk to him about. That I'm certainly clear about. He's
Okay,
very, very
well,
well
may I
connected.
suggest that he get familiar with her work? Her work is
Mhm.
very highly regarded by scientists, just for what it's worth. And there is a great discussion there about what has already been installed in the Earth in various, times and timelines. So, because what I'm wondering is you're talking about something that actually is going to stop things that occur sometimes on purpose by, the powers that be, and sometimes so-called naturally through cycles, I guess. So the question is that when you stop something, you may actually not be doing the good that you think you're doing. You might actually be, causing a buildup of the energies that are normally there, and then, something even larger to occur. So you have a team working on this at this point?
We have a small focus team that is really is all that we need. We just need enough people committed to seeing this addressed to fund it. Where necessary, help us locate the sites to install them. The installation is very simple for these devices. You dig a hole and put it in the ground and bury half of it.
I get it.
Very Installation is very simple.
I see that. Well, because okay, I don't, Tesla's work, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know if you saw a recent video. We went and visited a former Tesla site, the Tesla Science site on Long Island, and where Wardenclyffe used to stand.
Yep.
They removed it, so it wasn't there when we went there. And they removed it for just this reason that it was able to alter the earth, and also, you could put things in it and send them, to out to various places and so on and so forth. So I wonder how they're going to really react to this, to be honest. I'm also wondering if you don't have a coalition that is somehow established to deal with those people, governments and such, crazies and secret space program, etc. You're definitely going to have to deal with them sooner or later on this, if it has any effect whatsoever, I would imagine. So, so have you put some thought into that?
I have. Um, I will simply say, and this is something I want to talk to you more about offline. I'm very clear that we are living through an extraordinary time um, of great change that actually arises way beyond the context in which you are talking about. And I have no doubt that these changes will flow through. They are supported on a very, very profound level. And so, many of the things that we try to do, including, for example, bringing nanosoma product out into the world and even shipping it around the world, runs into all sorts of barriers that are put in our way. But we get the barriers out of our way and we keep moving forward. And I believe that is what is happening here. I think the people, and they may already have shown up, but maybe more people will be involved. But we have people that have shown up who may just oversee the entire deployment of these across the planet. And I'm not too worried about secret space program and so on in regard to interfering with these things. I'm really not, and I'm happy to explain to you why. I have a view about this which is somewhat parallel to yours. You know, you and I have never really talked about this. You work much more openly in what's happening behind the scenes in the world in quite intriguing ways, and I think that's wonderful. That's one of the reasons I want to talk to you about, you know, where I walk and what I understand, because it fits very, very well in a way, and yet complementary to your focus. So I'm not, it might sound crazy. I'm not really willing to talk about it in more detail
I
in this
see.
context, but my focus is not worrying about who might show up like that. I'm making sure that these devices, as they're deployed, are protected so that they can't be identified as to what they are and where they stand. And it's pretty clear that their signature fairly quickly spreads out, so they're very difficult to find, very difficult to locate. And you know, I expect that the impact of these already the devices that have been installed will become quite significant in the US in the near term. You
Okay,
might, I,
so sorry, but maybe you could explain, since you kind of are explaining that much, can you explain the things that it will affect are going to be indicative of sort of what kind of reaction you're going to get, I would think. So, if we can go back to kind of, I think you were kind of talking about a list of things that it's supposed to alleviate or mitigate, right? So maybe you want to talk about those things again, and then we have to look at, I mean, because you can't, I appreciate where you're coming from, you know, and I assume you know, maybe you have ET help or whatever the hell. But the point here I'm trying to make is that um, I'm sure that my audience would be very interested to know what kind of blowback is going to occur for them also individually or as groups, like if they invest in this and they stick it in the ground and so on and so forth. So there's a way that the Illuminati operate that, you know, you're probably familiar with, which is they often give stuff like free energy activists is a really good example on these lines, to say that they give them enough rope to hang themselves is generally how they operate. So you don't know that you're going to get pushback until it sort of comes out of nowhere after you've got things to a certain point. So just saying that in general, you don't have to really react to me. I'm just making a statement. But I do think that people, if this show, you know, is meant to reach like individuals and let's say high net worth individuals, and you don't have, I mean, maybe you don't think it costs that much money to deploy the necessary number, which you said was something like 320 around the world. So you don't have to have like an IPO and investors and all that kind of
no,
thing.
we're not, we are not doing it that way.
Okay. But you know, it is kind of interesting when you look at all of that because this is the sort of thing that we're talking about. I mean, I have high net worth individuals that contact me from time to time. A lot of them are very smart. They know what, you know, the lay of the land in terms of the power structure and so on. To, in most cases, they play ball with it. Otherwise, they get in trouble. So we're kind of like in that land. And then there's also getting Trump involved, if you want to do it in the United States, for example, and maybe even other countries related to what Trump might be having a certain amount of power over. In other words, there's kind of a longer road to look at in terms of we're not just talking about a product that people can buy and take home and everything is hunky-dory, right?
Um, um,
I mean, you may have a faith that everything's going to be hunky-dory, but it's a lot more involved than that. Now, as far as talking about, if you'd rather concentrate for this call and this this discussion on the technology itself, then maybe we should back up and get into the physics a little more, so I can understand how this works with Tesla tech, how it works with portal tech, how it, you don't seem to know about Ashiana Dean's work in the about the pylons that are all over the world, in very strategic places, and they are like poles that are actually in the earth. That's what a pylon is. So it sounds remarkably similar, if you will. And so this is important. I mean, yeah, to consider. So do you want to go in the direction of technology? What would you like to do at this point?
so I will simply say I'm not drawn to endeavour to take on the powers that be, and to try, or even to try and work with the powers that be in a direct way. That might sound naive from your perspective, and I respect that, but that's not the approach that I'm drawn to take.
No, I mean,
I'm drawn.
lots of free energy people are the same way. They completely, ignore the powers that be until they knock on their door. But that's all fine and good. So you've kind of made that clear. I mean, where do you want to go from here? Is what I'm trying to kind
Okay,
of say.
I simply wanted to on these devices make you aware of it. I'm happy to list some of the things that are happening in the world that these devices will prevent and take care of, that are not being taken care of by any existing technology. And an example of that would be the planes that are falling out of the sky when sunspots show up. Let's take that Air India flight of whatever it was, 4 months or so ago, that was taking off. It got somewhat off the ground, then the plane shut down. My friend Giovanni explains why that has happened, why other planes have happened. And really the issue is because of the reduced magnetic field, the electricals in a plane need, a positive and negative pole for the thing to work. But when the magnetic field gets too weak, you lose those poles. So the electricity doesn't work on the plane, it shuts down. And if you look at that Air India flight that crashed, it's classic because it got off the ground, it lost power. Is even shown that it automatically deployed the turbo backup power for the plane, and that did nothing either. So the thing clearly lost power. Um, it's an example of what's happening as the magnetic field of the planet weakens. We can prevent all of that.
Okay. Um, I understand what you're saying. So what about this idea that, this gets into this world that is actually kind of like a major area of discussion right now on the planet, which is energy and the use of energy, right? And how it's distributed among the people as well, and so on. So this is, you know, okay, for example, this guy Giovanni, uh, is he available to have, could we have him on the show and have the both of you together?
We could, I suspect he'd be open to that. His English is good enough for that. It's not perfect, but
All right.
he's certainly very capable of having a conversation in English if he is open and willing to do that. Um,
Okay.
and as I said, his depth of knowledge, I just skate over the surface on these, Kerry. I'm really not down in the detail of what he has in these devices.
Well, I would like to get
Uh, uh,
into a little more of the details in terms,
sure.
again, because I'm looking at, Tesla tech, portal tech, these other kinds of tech that are even, Ashyanadine, the pylons. I want to discuss that how your, device is going to interact with that, because you're talking about a world, a device that will affect the world, right? To create them as opposed to
I
stop
understand. We're
them.
shutting
So
those
it's going
down.
in the
These devices
opposite
shut those
direction,
down.
but it's valid.
Yes.
So what I think would be, we would be best served if we could get into the tech for the people that are into tech and could, get on board with that and maybe have discussions and maybe get involved in communicating with you and your partners and then see where this goes. I mean, I think it's much more, it's much more sophisticated than just a nice little podcast. you know, you're talking about something that's going to change the world, and you're
Yes, we
saying
are.
it's going to change the world. Now,
No
I'm not
question.
going to argue with you about that. I may, have an intuitive sense of things, but I'm not going to presume to know one way or the other if you're correct. I know you think you're correct. That's great. It would be better to talk to my audience is to persuade them that you're correct rather than just saying you can put this pole in the ground and it's going to stop earthquakes. We have to get into a lot of discussion in that area, right? Because I think I do have a lot of scientific minds, they write to me and stuff whenever I do a science show, and they've got all sorts of stuff going on. So I think that would be a great thing to do.
I
How
will talk to
do you feel about
Giovanni
that?
and see if he's willing to do it. I expect he will, but I can't speak for
All
him.
right. Okay. Is there anything while we're still, on the show with you that you haven't been able to touch on, that you would like to cover in this show?
I think the essence of it we've covered. I mean, the point is that there are smaller personal devices. I mean, some people, there's a lot of people can't afford, five or six thousand or $7,000 for a device on that level. I get that, and but that reflects the cost of these devices to create them. And as I said, I'm working with Giovanni to see if he can bring forth a smaller device that might be just, let's say, a domestic level device for protection and
Sure.
a more acceptable price for people who just want to take care of their house. I think we might have that solution in the next few months. Um, but these things have extraordinary impact on what is interfering in our environment, in terms of EMF interference, in terms of chemtrails, and there's a lot more. This stuff also
Sure.
gets cleared by these devices. So
Okay.
they're
Well,
setting
this
up
is,
an extraordinary protective environment. Sorry, Kerry.
no, no, sorry. It's just, that sounds great. Okay. Again, really wonderful. I'm sure the people, who know that Fukushima is still actively be very
So
interested in that as well as many other. You said earlier, if I caught it, it was kind of tucked in with some other stuff, but you did say you worked with Cash, you were aware of the Cash organization.
yes, yes, that's how I met Giovanni. Giovanni was running the
Ah,
Italian operation for the Kesh Foundation when I met him. In fact, Kesh introduced me to Giovanni in Rome in 2018. So, yes, I'm very aware of the Kesh organization. I have a lot of respect for his technology. I don't exactly respect his organization and how it works. Let me put it that way. And
fair
so
enough. Well,
neither of us have
just
a connection there anymore.
all right, fair enough. But I did many interviews with Cash. I think you know that, right?
I didn't know that.
Oh my God, yes. There are a few people that I've interviewed over the years that I interviewed so many times I can't even count them really. But he's one of them, actually, strangely. But up to a certain point, and then we sort of broke off. He kind of went into hiding, sort of. And I know he's been back on the scene, bits and pieces. I've seen some signs of that, but I haven't seen what he's actually doing right now. I'm not up to date on him. But I can tell you that me and my partner were supposed to have a meeting with him. We were in Venice and both became deathly ill at exactly the same time of night at 3 in the morning. We had to check out of our hotel and get out of that area because I had an idea that it might be coming from this beacon thing that was kind of nearish. the hotel that, I'd seen. So we did that right in the middle of the night and everything, but we never got to meet with him because I didn't get as ill as my partner, but he got, I thought I might have to take him to the hospital, and he might, whatever. But so we had a schedule that we couldn't change, and we had money we already paid to take flights out and all this kind of thing. So we weren't able to stay longer and endure whatever torture they wanted to put us through. And we never got to have the meeting we wanted to have with Cash and go to his place and all that thing. But I just was curious because you said you mentioned Cash. So Giovanni will certainly know about Cash and his, the
Knows
background,
very well.
how
Knows him
much
very
he's,
well.
yeah. Okay,
In
that would be
fact,
very interesting.
Giovanni was actually responsible for Kesh when he left Belgium going to Italy.
Okay.
Giovanni was the link that had him go to Italy.
All right.
So
Well, yeah. So, it's kind of fun to hear his name again, but at this point, just because of the depth of the material and kind of now that I see where it kind of the directions you're going with it, I think it would be better if we could do a better, sort of discussion. And I'm not even sure where that's going to go, but for what it's worth, maybe you can discuss it with Giovanni, see what kind of how my platform can help you in your endeavor. I mean, what you plan to do and what you're doing sounds like it's a positive thing for the planet. But I'm not going to assume that. And I think that we need to hear the science. When I first interviewed you, and his name was
Raghu,
Radu.
Dr. Raghavan, Dr.
Yeah,
Raghavan. Yeah.
he's lovely, lovely man. I had an intuition about nanosoma the minute I even heard the name. And, it proved to be correct. I get these hits on things sometimes. And but we had you guys on and we did this really amazing interview. It was not amazing because of me, but because of you guys as a team were very persuasive in what you really had landed on. And then we got into the science behind it. So I'd like to go in that direction again, if you don't mind, with respect to
That's
this
fine with me.
particular thing.
Mm. Let me talk to Giovanni and see if we can put it together.
Okay, very good. And then we do have a chat room. It's pretty active. I don't know if we just have the same person because sometimes that happens here. I get trolls of really insane trolls. And so
you,
I don't
you,
know what's
you
going
run
on
a
over here.
podcast, you get trolls, Kerry. That's how it works.
Yeah. So, but it looks like are you able to see the chat room or not?
No, I don't see it here.
Okay. Because I, at the moment, can't quite tell if I just wanted to, take a question or two before we wrap this up. If
Sure,
I could
sure.
find a question. Yeah, this doesn't look like a question. Just bring the good stuff, whatever that means. Okay, fine. All right. I don't see anything that's like with a question mark, for example.
Yep, yep. It's always a good test.
I just, was going to give a chance. Okay, so you can write to me at Carrie at projectcamelot.tv if you want to know more. And do you want to give out some way to contact you and other things? I did put your URL in there, and I
Yeah.
also put, my link there too.
They can just email me. People can just email me at richard@richardpresser.com. That's the simplest.
Okay, and Richard Presser is on the screen. I guess it's
Yeah. He,
Presser. All right, well,
yeah.
this is interesting. You've got my interest. I want to hear more. I want to hear more about the science, how it would relate to other science that that people are enthusiastic about, and see if something can come from this.
Thank you, Kerry. It was a pipe opener. I wasn't sure where we would go, and here we are. So that's all good. I really wanted the opportunity to bring more awareness to the fact that this exists, and people can then come and interact more directly to get more detail that's relevant to them. But in addition, this conversation with Giovanni, I think, is an excellent way to go. Let me talk to him, and I'll get back to you.
Excellent. Okay, have a happy holiday. everyone
Thank you.
watching, and I hope I'm going to have actually a short vacation, actual vacation sometime after Christmas. So,
Congratulations.
but when I go on vacation, I don't leave my cell phone at home. So I am
I'm
reachable
the same.
for emergencies and all kind of craziness, which is going on right now. So
May you
who
have a
knows
wonderful
what's
break
going to
as best you
happen?
can.
Sorry?
I said, may you have a wonderful break as best you can, and
Yes.
we'll be in touch in due course.
Okay. Sounds like fun and very fascinating. And thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'm going to run the credits so you don't have to stick around for that. Take care. And you can call me later or text me and we can also talk offline if you'd like to also do that. No problem.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
All right. Talk
All right.
soon.
Take care.
Bye for now.